we started this topic, and what did I explain to you? What it is, why that is important. Did I explain you? Did I introduce you this? Did I introduce you this capacity? These capacity concepts. Organizations and capacity measures we just identified, and then not these capacity measures, right? Did we discuss? Then did I about these two ratios? Capacity concepts. But we discuss these three as well. Capacity measures. So did I explain you this? This is capacity planning here, and I about why it is improved. Did I explain you? I just introduce it, and then we discuss why capacity planning is important, right? But not these steps. Did I explain to you? Probably not. Were you here? Hello? What did it? So we have a very big part of it. So we might take another, today's session to cover this quickly. How about others? Will they come? Still not going to lunch come, isn't it? Party kata. You don't message that, then will take on everything. Proses kan terus itu ada capacity planning. I just introduce it, but discuss करना चाहिए. Discuss करना minimum तो एक assignment का दिक्कत नहीं है. For the subject, I mean for that it doesn't need. You don't need it. Additional. This is the fourth session we are going to have on operations management. So here now, can you all quickly go through the slides we already discussed the other day on this topic, capacity planning, capacity management strategy. With others going, let's try to quickly refresh our understanding on this. We already discussed what operations capacity is, and then different capacity measures for different organizations we quickly identified. We'll also identify some other capacity measurement concepts today. And then to identify and to explain the importance of capacity planning decision, we identified some reasons why capacity planning is important. Then the capacity planning process, we just identify the steps. We are going to discuss things in detail today. And thereafter, for different industries, for different operations resources, what are the different capacity modification techniques available? Modification alternatives available. And then of course other capacity strategies, what we call, what are them, and we have to use them and all. And then to select the best capacity alternative, what techniques can be used to evaluate, and then select best capacity alternatives. So that is the area we are going to cover. This topic is important, as I told you several times now. One is operations capacity effect on other operations decisions also. So when we study operations management, this is one decision that affects many other operations decisions. Another reason why most of the capacity related problems, operations capacity related problems, are hidden. Managers can't easily recognize them, notice them. So without knowing that this is a capacity problem, they try to solve it different ways. But you can't overcome it because it's a capacity problem. You need to give solutions to the capacity problem, and then only you can overcome it. Right? So most of the capacity problems are hidden in organizations or unseen. Right? To see them and to respond in the right manner, you need to identify them as capacity problems and address them. And then when it comes to the subject here in operations management, this is important because your group assignment is based on this topic, that you need to understand it better, comprehensive manner, to do your group work in a meaningful manner. The entire or the total 40 marks will be given to this assignment, partly for the report, that is 20 marks, and in the presentation, for the group presentation 12, individual performance 8, that is 1000, total 14. So to secure a good mark for the group assignment, what you should do? You should do this assignment better. Genuinely contact right organization, select right organization, collect information from the management there, and summarize them in meaningful manner, and submit it. Presentation dates will be notified later. About these participants, where are they? Hello, Radhan, of course. Then, okay, they have limited time, right? Capacity. So far, we have discussed several things on this topic. We identified what capacity is, what operations capacity is. Now we know whether that is a manufacturing organization or a service organization. They have different operations resources that are used to produce products, create and deliver services. It could be machines or automated processes, production lines, or factories or facilities. What we call them? What is it? Right, it could be machines, automated processes, production lines, factories, and other facilities used for production. In addition to that, another main operations resource, that is the size of workforce. So those are the main operations resources used in operations. So when it comes to operations capacity, what we mean by that? It is the maximum output of these resources. Right? We call it the throughput of different operations units. That should be maintained, that should be managed. Why? Huh? It's 26. What you need to do? Huh? 25. Oh, 25 now. So this is clear. We discussed this already, but I just to reflect your understanding, because there are some who have missed the lecture last time, and then we can't move forward without understanding these basics. This is just to refresh your understanding. So operations capacity refers to the maximum output. We call it the throughput of operations resources that we can expect. It could be the machines or workforce, right? The maximum we can expect. That is important. What we call capacity planning is important. That means determining what is needed. This also that we discussed here. So capacity planning is all about determining the required capacity levels in terms of machines or other capital intensive resources, or in terms of workforce, what is required to successfully operate the business and to realize its business strategy, implement its operation strategy. What is the maximum capacity level we need for the business? Determining that and maintaining that is what we call capacity planning, which is very important for any given business, not only for to manage the day-to-day and tactical issues like these, and from the strategic point of view also that is important. That means in the long run, when you determine your competitiveness, how other operations activities and other departments should respond to that. So it's strategic basically. So even in your assignment, when you collect data and summarize and present, you should show that how critical, how important the operations decisions for the business. Right? Can you understand it? What we mean by strategically important? Write it down somewhere in your report. You have to show that not only operational side or the tactical side of it, but the strategically how capacity related decision is critical for the business. That you need to highlight. So in manufacturing organizations or in service organizations, managers are responsible for determining the required capacity levels well in advance and ensure that they have capacity when they determine overall capacity levels. and make sure you have the capacity when they are needed, that is to successfully implement the operation strategy and achieve the long-term competitive strategies. So this is called capacity strategy. In other words, capacity planning or capacity strategy. The main objective of capacity strategy, as shown in slide number 16, right? Main objective of capacity strategy is to provide an appropriate amount of capacity for the business at any point of time. Appropriate amount of capacity. Now, this appropriateness may depend on various different aspects, right? And here given a few aspects, right? So, in terms of cost aspect, revenue aspect, working capital, service levels, etc., the amount needed, capacity, should be just appropriate. Right? So, make it a point to check with the organization you are going to visit, so how they manage capacities in terms of these aspects. So, say for example, cost, like operating cost. So, the capacity management or capacity planning is all about what? Maintaining an appropriate capacity level that minimizes the operating cost. Understanding? That minimizes, that facilitates the company or the organization to operate at the lowest operating cost. Is that important? Operating at low cost, extremely important. In fact, that is one of the main objectives of operating at low cost. And for that, what is the suitable, what is the appropriate capacity level for the business? Don't know whether you understand it. You need to think of it. You need to relate with your example, experience, and then as we move forward, you need to understand it clearly. In terms of revenue, what is that? How we determine the appropriateness? What is the purpose here? Maximize the revenue. Right. So, how to maximize the revenue using the appropriate capacity? So, that is what. How to minimize operating cost, and for that, what is the appropriate capacity? How to maximize the revenue, and for that, what is the appropriate capacity? And then working capital, in terms of working capital requirements, what we mean by appropriate capacity then? The capacity level that minimizes working capital requirements for the business. Minimizes the working capital requirement. That is what we call appropriate. Service level, that could be a new term for you sometimes. Right? Service level. Now that in operations management, that simply means when customers approach you. Right? When customers approach you, what is the probability you need to make sure that you can deliver the products or deliver the service as they want, without any delays, without any shortages? What percentage you want to make sure that high? If so, service levels are higher. Whereas some companies they accept low service level. That means you can even delay the supply. Sometimes you just communicate to your customers, no order, no products available. So you are ready to maintain low service levels. So in terms of service level, what we mean by appropriate capacity? The capacity level that is appropriate to maintain higher service levels you want to maintain. Can you understand? So likewise, the appropriateness may depend on various aspects, whatever it is. The purpose of capacity strategy is to maintain appropriate amount of capacity for the business at any given point of time. whether that is a manufacturing firm, like a garment factory, or biscuits manufacturing, or printing firm, that is same. And in service industry, restaurants, banks, hospitals, education institute, that is same. That is same. So check with your organization. The organization you are going to study, are they maintaining it? Are they good at capacity planning and management? Do they have some issues, challenges? Right? And then identify how they overcome them. Do they have some suggestions, some strategies already identified and implemented? Or can you suggest some initiatives, some strategies to overcome them? And for that, the rest of the handout, rest of the topic we are going to complete will be useful. So you need to understand the concepts, techniques, strategies, capacity modification alternatives within the classroom itself, and then apply them in your industry, your organization's area. Clear? I hope that is clear. Then we understood the importance of capacity that we completed already with these points, like slide number 13. Why it is important for business? So what happens when capacity is not enough? We call it capacity shortages. What happens? We identify few, right? And then excess capacity. Maintaining higher capacity levels than needed. So what operational consequences are there? What problems are there? Issues are there? We identify. So accordingly, we understood it is very important for any business to maintain appropriate capacity levels, not capacity shortages, not excess capacity. And accordingly, we identified here. Slide number 14 also explains the importance of capacity planning. Now, that capacity level determines various different things, especially the cost structure of the operations, fixed cost, variable cost. It affects on the level of customer satisfaction, whether your customers are satisfied or not, or disappointed. And it affects on the response rate. I explained this, I guess, didn't I? Response rate. So whether that is low, moderate, or high. So it affects on the product quality levels, service quality levels, and other decisions like inventory policies, etc., etc. So maintaining appropriate capacity levels are important. Maintaining appropriate capacity levels are important. So that is why we have this topic. We try to understand this. Right. So thereafter, we move to identify what we mean by capacity planning and the steps recommended for capacity planning. So this is where we stopped the other day, as I remember, right? So this is nothing but a generic process, right, for decision makers to follow when they make capacity decisions. Not a very specific process, but general guideline. So when making capacity decisions, they can follow some of these steps in this manner, this sequential manner. From where to begin? They need to initially assess their existing capacity, which means so they should have facts and figures, what they have now, right? In terms of machines, in terms of process capacity or other details, what they have now. In terms of workforce, current workforce levels, that is the initial information they need in the planning process. So they know what they have. Clear? In the second step of capacity planning, They're supposed to forecast future capacity requirements. Future capacity requirements that we can't do directly, so that usually in manufacturing organizations, first they forecast the demand for their products and they convert that into capacity requirements. Understanding? I hope that is clear. First they forecast the demand for their products, different product categories, and considering other information like standard processing time, such demand forecasts are converted into capacity requirements. So that you have two information. One is existing capacity, and the other one is capacity requirements. So when you have two information over a period of time, next few months to few years ahead, right, and plot them in one diagram like this. See, forecasted demand converted into capacity requirements over a period of time, how it moves, how it fluctuates. And when you show the available capacity, you can clearly identify whether you have enough capacity or do you have capacity shortages or excess capacity. And accordingly, you can plan. Now, as you see here, project the capacity requirements, equipment requirements, labor requirements, and labor availability over a planning horizon, maybe few months to few years, and then identify whether there are capacity gaps. If any gaps available, identify capacity alternatives. What to do to bridge the gaps, right? And accordingly, evaluate those alternatives and select the best one. So those are the steps in capacity. This we identified. We are going to discuss things in detail. Check whether you can understand things clearly. If certain terms are not clear, certain terms are very new to you, this is the right time to answer questions. I just increased by one. Any questions? I have selected organizations for the assignment now. You should have seen the plan. Once selected it, you think of a manufacturing organization or service organization, start contacting them. If you plan to do something at the end, based on some secondary information like from online sources, whatever available, you will get 0 marks. I must tell you. I might have already mentioned this. You are going to do the presentation as well. When you do the presentation, anyone, not only me, anyone in the audience can understand whether you have collected information and summarized them into a report, or whether you have generated the report using the AI. Don't complain me later that you are not aware, you got 0 marks, 2 marks out of 40, you are not aware. It's 40 marks in this. Planning, we have a group, we need to determine what information you need, from whom you are going to collect information, summarize them into a report. That's what the guideline. Right? That is why we have this topic and all these discussions. Any questions? We are going to discuss this in detail anyway, whether you like it or not, because I need to make sure that you know what you are supposed to do. I will discuss other concepts also. It's up to you. Will you try to understand something from me, relate with your experience and all. Then whether you do your side. Are there anything that is not clear? Let's go ahead. Yeah. If you have doubts, please go ahead. Any idea about the organization you are going to select? Will that be a manufacturing organization? Manufacturing? Then it could be mostly their production lines, factory capacity, or machines capacity, and then of course the size of the workforce required for smoothly running the operations. If it is a factory, like garment factory, beverage companies like Coca-Cola or beer production, or ice cream manufacturing. It's mostly the production line, the factory capacity, and the machines capacity that matters most. If you take the garment factories together with machines, production lines, workforce also critical factor, critical aspect. If you are planning to select a service sector organization like audit firms, restaurants, hospitals, right, and their operations capacity related issues. So you may see mostly the operations capacity related issues are workforce related issues. And in some sections of the operation, like in hospitals, let's say operating theatre, wards, they are the physical resources, their capacities, but mostly the other capacity requirements are workforce requirements. Do you understand what I am telling? Hello? Oh, you are not ready to understand it. Accounting specialized students, they mostly like do the calculations, balance the accounts, and that's it. But when you study a subject like this, you should be ready. You should be open to understand other descriptive things also. Very simple to understand if you are paying attention. Biology. Anyway, do you get what I mean? So you have to think of the organization and their capacities. Right. When it comes to assessing the capacity, available capacity and all, and then of course when forecasting especially forecasting the capacity. Now there are different capacity measures used for this. So pay attention to that as well. We are going to identify 3 capacity measures often used in making such decisions. How many? 3 different capacity measures. So you better understand these 3 concepts, the differences between them, whether they are relevant for your organization. You are going to study. So what are the 3 capacity measures that we are going to identify? One is called design capacity, and the other one is called effective capacity, and the other one is called actual capacity. So 3 capacity measurements. Are we ready? You may also use them in your assignment. design capacity, effective capacity, and actual capacity. Because most of the time, operations managers may not use the right capacity measurement, and thereby some issues are there. So you can highlight, if any, and mention that in the report. I hope we can start, right? Now this one, we call it design capacity. That is one of the main capacity measurements. As described here, design capacity of a machine or a process or a factory. That means the maximum throughput, maximum output we can expect that it is designed for. Right? In other words, we call it when the factory is operating at ideal conditions, what is the maximum output we might expect? Understanding? So that is it. So ideal condition exists during the time that the system is available, or what is the maximum output that it is designed for. Normally expressed as a rate. Now, say for an example, the one that is given here for a PepsiCo company. So, at their Frito-Lay factory, they used to manufacture potato chips. So, the machines at Frito-Lay are designed to produce 1,000 bags of chips per hour. And the plant operates 16 hours per day. What is the design capacity per day? So that means that is designed when it's operating at ideal conditions. What is the maximum output we can expect? So we know now per hour 1,000 bags into how many hours per day? 16 hours. So we can consider that as 16,000 bags per day. That is the maximum that it is designed for. That is the design. Well, I hope that is clear, right? This is also known as in some textbooks and in practice BOA, in the sense best operating level. So design capacity, also known as best operating level. You may use these terms when you contact the organization, when you try to collect information. Best operating level. That is one capacity measure. However, for practical reasons, sometimes when assessing the capacity and making some decisions, instead of design capacity, they refer to the effective capacity of the plant. So what is effective capacity? And why that is important? You know, although the machine or the production line or the factory is designed for a particular maximum amount, due to some practical reasons, right, that we all know, that we all accept as managers, we cannot utilize it for the fully. There can be some lost production, lost hours, right? When you reduce that amount, we call it effective capacity. That means effectively what is the maximum output we can expect. Because there can be some production losses. Production losses. Write it down somewhere. There will be loss of production due to some practical reasons. And when we reduce that amount, loss production, we get what? Effective capacity of the resource. So what is effective capacity then? Effective capacity is the capacity a firm expects to achieve given certain current operating constraints they have. Some practical reasons. Right. Which is often lower than the design capacity. Now, effective capacity is lower than the design capacity most of the time. So, what kind of reasons affect there? As you see here, right, design capacity minus lost output due to some other reasons. What kind of reasons? Some are given here as examples. In the organization you are going to study, you may see the same reasons or some more reasons. You need to identify. Some reasons, some operating constraints. Like preventive maintenance. Have you come across it before? I think yes. Preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance. You know the meaning of maintenance, right? Hello? Maintenance. Maintaining machines, maintaining processes. That is important, otherwise they are broken down. So preventive maintenance, actually before breaking down the machines or production processes or the factory production line, the required precautionary actions, maybe changing some parts, removing some damaged parts and replacing them with the new ones, changing oil, changing grease, right? But we can understand. So such preventive maintenance is needed to keep running the processes. And for that we need to allocate some time. Few minutes to few hours sometimes. Weekly. So can we expect the full output and the design capacity? So we'll have to stop the production line or allocate some time for preventive maintenance, maybe 1 hour per day or 2 hours per week, likewise. And we'll have to calculate it and reduce it from the design capacity. So preventive maintenance. The effective capacity is lower than design capacity. Or sometimes we call it sometimes due to machine setups or machine changeovers, what we call it, will reduce some amount of capacity. What we mean by machine setups, production line setups, or changeovers in operations. Changeovers. Well, this is the idea. Now you may have seen, be aware of it. Now in a production line, the same production line is used to produce different products. Let's say for an example, a few years ago when I visited Kmart's Valisara factory, that they used to produce different consumer products. Let's say now toothpaste manufacturing process. They produce under the brand name of Lanka. So now Clogard toothpaste, do you think they produce toothpaste every day, throughout the week, throughout the month? No, no need, because the demand is not so high. So they produce them in batch wise, right? They produce them in batch wise. We will later discuss batch production and all, so you can understand. So they continue for few hours or 1 or 2 days. Now there are different sizes of Clogard toothpaste. Small size, medium size, large one. Right. So when they arrange the production line, they continue for few hours or 1 or 2 days and continuously produce, let's say, large size. They operate for, let's say, 10 hours per day. So they start, continue for 10 hours, and the next day they continue for 10 hours. That is how 2 days. That production will be sufficient to fulfill the 1 month demand of big or large size. Now, when they discontinue it and start medium size production, they need some adjustment to the process. That is called setups or changeovers. We call it recalibrating the process. Recalibrate the process, that takes time, few hours. Due to such reasons, we lost some production hours. Hope you can understand. And thereby we cannot meet the design capacity. This is important, that's why I am highlighting. So operations managers are responsible for this. That is one of the main capacity problems they have. They have the design capacity, but the effective capacity is low, very low. One might think we can't avoid it. I mean, no one is responsible. These are anyway practical reasons, but fine. Operations managers are responsible. They need to make sure the gap between design capacity and effective capacity is minimized as much as possible. Changes in product mix due to scheduled breaks. Sometimes the production line, that is recommended to keep the machines shut down for few hours. After running for few hours, it's compulsory to keep it shut down few hours. Scheduled breaks are needed, and due to that, you cannot use it for the full potential. Can you understand that? So as a result, effective capacity is often lower than design capacity. One example given here, Frito-Lay loses 3 hours of output per day due to such output losses. We call them planned resource unavailability. We are here on planned resource unavailability. We know it happens, but we can't do much about it. So what is the effective capacity then? 3 hours loss output, that is 3 into 1000. We deduct that from the total or design capacity, so we get 13,000 chips bags per day. Here we identified two concepts: design capacity and effective capacity. Any quick questions? Then let's move to the third concept. We call it actual capacity or actual output. It is simple to understand, right? So that is the capacity that is achieved or realized, which could be even lower than the effective capacity. Actual capacity could be even lower than effective capacity. What is the difference? You should have reached the effective capacity, but due to some other reasons, some practical reasons, within a specific period of time, we won't be able to realize the full effective capacity. It's not lower than that. So, due to some reasons like these, some examples are mentioned here. Some reasons are mentioned here. But in the organization you are going to study for the assignment, you need to think of that operation, that business, and identify whether there are some reasons like these applicable to them. Use some reasons like them. Now, what is this? Machine breakdowns. You cannot easily understand it. Unexpectedly, the machine is broken down for a few hours, maybe a few days, so that you are unable to use it for the production. And thereby, your actual capacity could be a lower value than the effective capacity. Than the effective capacity. Unavailable parts. Unavailable parts. Now, to start production, you need components, parts, and other materials, right? When there is a delay in supply, what happens? What happens? When එකකටවත් වුණාම කල්පනාවක් නැහැ නෝට් එකක් ලියා ගන්න කියන දේ වැඩක් ගන්න. ඒවට තමයි හරියට කල්පනාව AC එක එහාට මෙහාට කරගන්න. මේකට මෙයාව කරගන්න. You all adults. Why I'm explaining this in detail? Because this is your assignment. So you need to pay attention. And I would be really glad to see a comprehensive assignment done. At least by 1 or 2 groups, so that I give full marks without any issue. When I feel like no group is there, no one is, no one has understood it, no one has taken it seriously, I as a person would be worried about it. Because this is my subject, I am the one who discussed that with you. If no one has got, if one or two, I mean, at least if one group has taken it seriously and managed it nicely, I will be happy. I'm not going to worry about everyone. I can be happy because I have done my part. It's your fault. You are not ready to get it. That's your part. Sometimes your capacity is not such. You are not ready to get it. That's in your hand. I want to feel like I did my best, so that at least one group has demonstrated it. You will realize later, as accountants, how important these concepts are for you. When becoming managers, where can you use these concepts, especially capacity concepts? Right? So, I mean, I'm not telling at you, right? So none of you finish it so that we can finish it. Yeah. No, you're not. Right? So now you need to think whether these kind of issues are there. Can you remember? You are supposed to identify capacity problems. But if you don't notice, machine breakdowns are frequently reported. Because it's a capacity problem. Capacity is there, but you cannot utilize it. Always machine breakdown. Is it a capacity problem? Yes. Likewise, the other problem, unavailability of parts. I explained it now. Components are not arrived on time, so that you cannot start production. Machines are idling. staff is idling, right? You cannot realize the capacity. Quality problems, how that would affect on lower actual capacity. Quality problems, we will discuss in detail later. You know what we mean by quality problems, especially in products. When the production is over, when they check the final product, they call it inspection. When they inspect the product, they will recognize some problems. Products with quality defects. At garment factories, they may notice some items they are not fully done. So what they would do? Well, one thing they would do is they will send them back to the production line, and they will rework it. Hello, they will rework it. That is one remedy they have to improve the quality of those rework. Would that affect to the quality, capacity here? Hello? How come? Now they'll have to rework so that they have to stop some real production. They'll have to utilize some production hours for reworking. So that will reduce the actual capacity. Understanding? So if there are more rework taking place at the factory, that means their actual capacity would be lower. They reduce the capacity but to rework. One might say, or the factory manager say, we can't avoid it. Often our factory producing poor quality products, so that we have to rework anyway. Anyway, they'll have to suffer with the quality, capacity problems. Assign same production line again, more workers again, so quality problems. So likewise, there are different reasons. How about this one? Absenteeism. You know it. Absenteeism. Workers not reporting to work without getting prior leave approvals. In both manufacturing and service organizations, this is a problem. Because they have not taken prior leave approvals, so the production targets are already set. Orders are already assigned. So that day morning they recognize, assume that they have 120 workforce, 120 workers, maybe 20 workers already taken leave, so any other scheduled breaks and all. Now they expect 100 to turn up on a particular day. So their production targets are set for 100 workers. Machine allocations, production line allocations, order allocations done for 100 workers. But to see on the same day morning, only 85 turned up. So 15 absent. 15 absent. So that they won't be able to meet the production targets. They won't be able to utilize the full machine hours available. Can you understand it? So due to such reasons, actual capacity would be a lower value than effective capacity. That we need to understand. For example, on average, machines at Frito-Lay are not running 0.25 hours per day due to late parts and machine breakdowns. So that the actual output equals 12,750. So these are the three capacity measurements that we need to use in assessing the capacity available, and then of course that is easier for us to forecast the capacity requirements. Clear? Pay attention to such details when you contact the organization, right? Don't look for confidential data, they will not reveal, but show that you know of it. These are capacity related important concerns. Incorporate them in the final report as well. Based on these capacity measures, there are two highly used capacity ratios, metrics. One is capacity utilization ratio, and the other one is capacity efficiency ratio. So how the capacity utilization ratio is calculated? That is the ratio between actual output into design capacity as a percentage. Right? Utilization, actual into design. Whereas efficiency ratio calculated using the ratio between actual output into effective capacity as a percentage. So for any operations resource or production line or machinery, any machine or for production line or for factory, they can calculate the utilization ratio for 2023 or for each quarter within 2023 and compare it with the past. In 2022 what happens? 2021 what happens? So how it changes over a period of time? Is this improving or declining? Can you understand it? So as efficiency. It can be compared for a period of time. That is the purpose of calculating these ratios. For comparison purposes. How they can be compared? One is over a period of time. Over a period of time it can be compared, or with similar facilities, it can be compared. Say now, company A has particular capacity and company B has another particular capacity. You can compare what is the utilization company A, utilization at company B, efficiency company A, efficiency company B. Two similar type organizations or similar type units can be compared. For the same unit over a period of time can be compared. I'm giving you some tips. Make some judgments. You need capacity related data. Now, hope you understood it. With a simple example like this, let's try to be familiar with it. Now, assume you have provided such details. This is for a bakery, and this production line used for rolls, making rolls. Which rolls? So the design capacity of this rolls making process is 1200 rolls per hour. And it further says this bakery operates 7 days per week and 3 8-hour shifts. 3 8-hour shifts, that means 24 hours. Using the rolls making process 24 hours. So what is the design capacity of this production line? Rolls making line. How you can easily calculate it? What is the design capacity? Per hour rate is given, multiplied by how many hours per day. That means 8 hours into 3 shifts, 24 hours. That is to get the per day capacity, but we need per week capacity, so we multiply it by 7. So we get design capacity per week as this 1,600. 2,100, 1,600. Correct? And you are provided actual production for the last week, that is 108,000. Effective capacity as 175,000. If you have to calculate the capacity utilization ratio and then capacity efficiency ratio and comment on those values, can you do that? I hope so. I hope so. Capacity utilization. Check whether you can understand the calculation. I hope so. Capacity utilization. Actual into design. Actual into design. You get a percentage as 73.4% utilization. 73.4% utilization ratio for this process. Clear? Now then, that has to be compared. How about last week, the week before last? So likewise, in the last 1 month, what's happening? Whether that utilization is declining or improving? So we can track. Can make a track of it. Coming to efficiency ratio, that is actual into effective capacity as a percentage, and accordingly the value is 84.6. 84.6%. By just looking at the numbers, we can't say anything. We need to refer to last figures or to standards. Then only we can make a conclusion. But on that, I mean, in your understanding, as you think, out of these two ratios, which one is more often used, more frequently used for making judgments, making decisions? Utilization or efficiency? More often used, more frequently used? Well, in making decisions, efficiency ratios are often used for decision. Efficiency. Sometimes they don't worry much about the utilization ratios. They don't calculate figure. But efficiency ratios are often calculated and used for comparisons, decision making. However, now measure the performance of operations managers, operations staff and all. Together with efficiency ratio, utilization ratio is also very important. You should be able to understand it. So they are supposed to maintain utilization ratio is also at higher level. Now, how about these values? Are you happy to say, I mean, when you look at this, 73.4 utilization ratio, 84.6 efficiency ratio, what do you think? Is that satisfactory or acceptable? Well, we can't just give a comment by looking at only one figure, right? We need to look at the past figures, right? Of industry standard, right? So then we can make a decision. We can give a judgment, right? But in general, we say, I mean, efficiency ratios should be greater than 90% or close to 100% as much as possible. Closer to 100 would be ideal efficiency. How about utilization ratios? Right. Well, these factory managers, operations managers are responsible for maintaining utilization ratios also at higher levels, maybe above 90%. Sometimes. Right. It depends on the industry. Hello? It depends on the industry. There are some industries, let's say apparel manufacturing, garment factories. Factory managers are responsible for maintaining higher utilization rates, maybe above 90%. Whereas in some other industries, they cannot maintain that at higher level due to different reasons. Then that is clear? We can generally say this is the benchmark that is applicable everywhere. No, industry specific. Right. But these are the basic details you should know. Right. Basic details. What did we discuss here after this point? Capacity measures, we identify three types: design capacity, effective capacity, and actual capacity. Based on these three, talked about two capacity ratios. One is utilization ratio, the other one is efficiency ratio. And we identified how to calculate them, how to make judgments based on those values, right? And then use them for the decision making. After a short break, we will be talking about here, right? So, how to identify different capacity options and what are the options available. Then, how to evaluate them, how to select the best capacity capacity. 10 minutes. I'll be starting around 1:45 then. Will not wait after that. We'll start. Go out and come. Right. Hope we can quickly move to the last, not last part, but because this is also little more lengthy. I will not discuss everything, but we will draw your attention what aspects you need to think. Meantime, you are free to ask any question. Share each other's understanding. We need to have Q&A sessions, questions, answers. Do you have any questions? Like one group trying to ask about some assignment related questions. Yeah, I mentioned one main point. Good, if you select the organization, you can easily get the permission rather than taking any other points. Think of an organization that you can get the permission easily. You see your contacts, personal contacts, maybe an organization you have already worked for, an organization that is located close by, we will travel sometimes. You as a group will have to visit, maybe at least few individuals. So find a location that is convenient to you, that you can get the permission. The second point, if the organization is extremely big or large, no need to select the entire organization for the assignment. For the assignment purpose, select one part of the business. That is perfectly alright. One that I mentioned to them was, that is not really their example. The example given by myself, but I think it's alright if I share it. Now assume that you are going to study Demas Hospital or Asiri Hospital, right? It's perfectly alright. But then hospital, take as an organization, service providing institute, that's huge. That has many different sections, that has many different operations processes. Especially, you cannot easily talk about operations capacity for the entire organization. Can you? Very difficult. Big. So that you can select one aspect of it, one area. Could be, let's say, surgical theaters. That is one section of the hospital. So about it, you do the assignment. Understand? Right? Asiri Central Hospital and then surgical theatre. Like, not the entire organization. Let's say CDL factory, discuss production factory, one production area, one production line for one factory. Now they have their summer portion factory somewhere close to Ratnalana. So you study only that. Right? Don't think too much. Right? Don't look for complicated examples. Just manage it. That's it. But you have to do it genuinely. You have to contact the right persons. You have to ask right questions, gather data, summarize them, and prepare the report. Clear? Then make that clear. No, I will be able to explain what I have, so you forget about it. I will never forget. I love it. I love it. It is a house. Akaram karam karam lodi kare. I love it. Ever? Make the one that is the current part. Right. About this. Now, when you assess your capacity, you know that detail. What is the existing capacity? When you estimate your capacity requirements based on demand, you know that information. Then you can assess. Whether you have capacity gaps. There can be two types of gaps. One is required capacity is lower than available capacity. That is one type of gap. Like this. In the initial few months or few years, time frame is not given here. Let's say few months. Right? So the required capacity, blue line, is shorter than available capacity. Dotted line here. Understand? If the situation is such, is that good? Is that what we mean by capacity plan, capacity management? No. This is excess capacity, isn't so? Excess capacity. That should be managed. So that's a capacity gap. So they'll have to implement the right capacity alternative for that. But in the other situation, required capacity is greater than available capacity, and that leads to capacity shortage. Capacity shortage, like this. From here onwards, from this period onward, what happens? Capacity requirement is higher than what they can produce. Right? That is a capacity gap. We call it capacity shortage. Is that good? No, there can be some issues, so that they need to find right alternatives to bridge the gap. And out of them, the most suitable one, and we need to identify what are the alternatives and select the most appropriate capacity strategy, capacity activity, or capacity plan and implement it. And that is what we mean by these three. So identifying capacity alternatives and evaluate them in terms of financial aspect, economical aspect, technological aspects to select the best alternative. So from industry to industry, organization to organization, capacity alternatives are different. They will identify few alternatives. Meantime, you can check with the organization you are going to study. Are they using some of those alternatives or some other? Remember? Oops. Right now, any questions? I think up to this point it is clear. Now let's see then, what are the different, we did this example the other day, that is to assess the capacity. Now, slide number 20. To identify what are the different capacity and demand reconciling strategies used by businesses? Strategies used for reconciling the operations capacity and the market product demand. I introduce you. So, some organizations may follow the first one. We call it, we call it level capacity. Whereas some other organizations may prefer the second strategy. We call it chase. So these are the two main reconciling strategies. As you see here, as you understood last week, what's happening here? Organization selected this option, level capacity. As you see there, although the demand varies, they maintain the same capacity, constant capacity, level capacity, without changing. Now, one might ask, then there are capacity shortages, excess capacity. So how to bridge the gap? For that they use different capacity modifying techniques. Temporary or short-term techniques we will identify later. What are possible with this type of organization? Due to some practical reasons or technology reasons, they can't adjust the capacity. That has to be maintained at a level. Second option, second strategy, they call it chase demand strategy. As you can see here, such organizations, how they respond to the changing market demand, how they adjust the capacity. As you see the white line here, what they do? Aligning with the demand, they adjust the capacity. They have the possibility. They have the, they know how to do it, and that is called chase demand. Adjust the capacity following the demand. Chase demand. That is possible in certain industries, with certain technologies, and that is more preferred in some industries. So we will discuss more. How chase demand can be practiced. So these are the two main techniques. In addition to that, any organization may try out this as well. We call it demand management strategies. Now, not necessarily a capacity management strategy, but what is it? Demand management, which means when the capacity is constant, as you see, right? But demand is managed. Demand is manipulated to match with the capacity, and thereby they manage the demand with existing capacity. And for that, there are different strategies. We'll discuss later. Understood? And there are three main reconciling strategies: level capacity, chase demand, and demand management. Let's quickly identify. We discussed this, but later discuss this. Talking about short-term and medium-term capacity adjustments used in different industries, these are the common tactics. These are the common capacity modifying methods, alternatives. Some organizations may, whether that is manufacturing or service, depending on the availability, they may select one or few of them and implement to manage the capacity problems, capacity gaps. Now, we need to quickly go through them and make sure you understand things. At the same time, you can check with the organization you are going to study how many of them are using which of them. What do you understand? 1, 2, 3, then there should be 4, right? 4, 5, 6 like that. So there are 8 different tactics mentioned here. This is for short term and medium term purpose. What I mean by short term? Less than 3 months. Medium term? 3 months to 12 months. So these are basically for short term and for medium term. There are long term adjustments. In slide number 4, I have mentioned a few common strategies for long term capacity adjustments. These are the long term adjustments. That is your 1 year. Before going there, let's quickly understand these with little more details. What is not clear here? What do you need to know from my side? Everything? Or can you understand something? No, clear naturally. Can you clear naturally? Some organizations. Okay. Close it. That's it. You will understand. Close it. I will explain. That means close down. Close down this. When the demand is not there. So when no capacity is needed, it will check out that is. But then just maintain it. Just close it. Because required capacity is lower than what is available. Sometimes this is almost zero. So no point of maintaining. So shutting it down. That is closing facilities. Maybe the production line is closed down. Sometimes we discontinue that product, allocate those machineries also for some other production. Because demand for such product is declining. Rather than maintaining unnecessarily. That's a good choice. How about the second one here? Hope you can easily understand that. And even in your industry, like audit firms, accounting firms, and many other services, this is often used. What is it? Making staffing changes depending on the capacity changes, requirement changes. So what type of changes? Hire more workers, especially short-term workers. Hire more. Like in audit firms, what type of employment categories, they hire more to expand the capacity. Yeah, entry or we call them trainees, right? Trainees and executive, basically trainees, and thereby you improve your capacity. You hire more when you get more engagements, when you have handle more projects, you hire more and thereby increase the capacity. And there are interns, trainees, yes. So you hire more and match the capacity required. How about this one? Work long hours, more than normal hours. Overtime. Do you get overtime payments? But you work overtime, free of charge. But still, that is how they manage the capacity programs they have. And you have normal hours would not be enough. So you work for extra hours, maybe without payments, but still, that is how you manage the operations. But let's say factories, when there are more orders, then of course delivery time is closer. We call it rapid. Let's say dispatch deadlines are closer. So what they will do? Arrange more shifts, night shifts, overtime to complete. Use of temporary workers, casual workers, temporary workers, temporarily expand the capacity. And then fire workers or layoffs, discontinue certain employments like casual workers when the capacity is idling, no needed. It is possible. Manpower companies are there to supply workers. So when the demand is low, they discontinue such employment terms. Clear? Staff adjustments. Is it a capacity technique? Now, out of these three, let's forget about it. Out of these two, under which strategy it comes? Level capacity or chase demand? Exactly, it comes under chase demand. When the demand is increasing, they increase the workforce size and other things. When the demand is declining, they reduce it. Good. So most of the organizations, especially service organizations, they manage it using staffing adjustments. Restaurants, department stores, audit firms, hospitals. Pardon me? IT companies, of course. With the staff adjustments, they manage the capacity. So in most of the services, they handle it like that. This is also useful for some adjustments like adjusting equipment to increase machinery. They can purchase additional machinery, and even for that purpose, they can go on with renting arrangements. Right? You rent out more resources temporarily. Even if you think about audit firms, accounting firms, what type of machinery you need? Maybe even laptops for the staff, or maybe for the temporary staff. You may not have enough PCs or laptops, you may hire. There are some firms providing laptops on renting basis, right? So for few weeks, few months, you rent out. That is approved. Selling existing equipments when when they are no longer useful. When the required capacity is declining. rather than just keeping them. Selling them would be appropriate. So out of these two, under which strategies it comes? Level capacity or chase demand? The chase demand. It's just the capacity. Now comes the main one here that I kept for a while. Right. Now, this is one of the main ways to overcome capacity problems in manufacturing industries. And in some of the services also where they use products as a part of their service. This is clear. This is mostly used in manufacturing industries. Inventories. Or in services where they use products as a part of service. So use of inventories and inventory management options to manage capacity issues. Do you think that this is possible? Using inventories? Especially use of different inventory levels, especially like standard stocks, buffer stocks. Right? So inventories are used. Inventories in the sense stock of items maintained for a special purpose, right? And this is for capacity management purpose. Can you understand it? In addition to that, there are other inventory related options like back ordering, maybe customer waits, and consider some other options like lost sales or even stock outs. You know, you can simply understand maintaining stocks. Now, here an example. Most of the consumer products in the market, FMCG products, FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, right? And some other products we call them CPGs, consumer packaged goods, like biscuits, canned products, packaged products, everything. Or any other FMCG, fast moving consumer goods like personal care products to various other fast moving items. Such manufacturers, like biscuit manufacturing, cakes manufacturing, chocolate manufacturing, personal care products like shampoo, soap, toothpaste, they are supplied as inventories. They are managing it. Now, certain months of a year, they need to supply high, more items, and certain months of the year, low demand. So how do we manage? By using inventory levels. They produce and maintain them in inventories. So they maintain almost same constant level. Additional products, say for an example now, this is exactly the level production or level capacity strategy. What they do is, there can be certain capacities unchanged. So there can be certain months, right? Demand is lower than capacity. But still what they do, they maintain the same production rate. Demand is low. What happens then? There can be stocks, additional stocks being accumulated as inventories. Because they continue the production rate. So that, now see, after this point, there will be a period where the demand is higher than the capacity. So what they would do? They can easily use the inventories to supply the additional demand and absorb the demand fluctuation. That is how most of the consumer products and everything supplied through inventories. So we consider use of inventory as one of the main capacity modification techniques if you use in the right manner. This can be used in many manufacturing industries. Can be used in services difficult. Why? Services cannot be produced in advance and stored. But products can. Hope you can understand it. Will you check it with the organization you are going to visit? Right. Whether they are using this. If you visit Melbourne, if you visit Munchie, definitely you will come across. They use it. Manage the demand and capacity issues. Clear? Coming to this one, back ordering, is it new? Have you heard of it before? Well, it is well accepted inventory related practice in manufacturing industries. Back ordering. What happens is, now they get customer orders that they can't deliver because there are capacity issues. So often such manufacturers, what they do is, they negotiate with the customers. They accept order, right? And then come to agreement to deliver later. They change the delivery time. They look for more longer time. The back order. Clear? Accept the order to deliver later because there are capacity shortages. Within customers may agree when you promise them a date. So when the capacity is available, they clear the backlogs first, right? And then start supplying to other orders. Right? So that is how it happens. Back ordering. Accepted practice. In the same manner, customer waits. You ask the customers to wait in line. For waiting not in physical queues, but maybe in a waiting list. When capacity is limited, nothing else to do but to wait in queues, wait in lists. During when the capacity is low, capacity is lower than the demand, so nothing else you can do. You can ask your customers to wait until you manufacture and deliver. So within customers will wait. Others, they might switch to other competitive brands. Can't do it. You'll have to accept it. If you can't expand the capacity and the demand is growing, you'll have to let it happen. Sometimes even consider as lost sales. We know that we could have delivered it had we enough capacity, but we don't have capacity, so we consider it as lost sales. Right? Nothing else. No other option. Clear? Consider it as stock outs. You communicate to your customers and mention these are stock out items that we are unable to supply for next 3 weeks, 5 weeks. Stock outs. Not in stocks. Nothing. I mean, we can't supply. But we need to communicate. Clear? So when most of these inventory related options are applicable under chase demand or level capacity. Hope you can understand most of them are relevant for factories or organizations following this strategy because capacity is constant. I hope you will check with the organization you're going to study. And at the same time, there are other options. Improving processes. Process improvement, what we call. When we improve a process, what happens? You can understand, right? Now, earlier, before improvement, it took 90 minutes to complete one product. Just assume product improvements would result in product improvements in the sense, process improvements in the sense, you identify some unnecessary steps in the process and remove them, and you improve the process now, so that you can produce the same product within 65 minutes. You save 25 minutes with process improvement. That would definitely increase your capacity. Isn't so? Now you can produce more. Right? Can you understand? Redesigning products. Sometimes some complicated products can be redesigned to make them simple, so that products can be manufactured easily with minimum time. Right. So product improvements will also reduce processing time. In the previous topic, we talked about some concepts like design for manufacture, DFM, design for manufacturing and assembly, DFMA. That means changing the product and its features to manufacture them easily, manufacture and assembling them easily, so that we can reduce the time required, and thereby we can produce more. Understanding? So likewise, to overcome capacity problems, we can improve processes, we can improve products. If we can't do anything else, any other things. Clear? In the same manner, there are other options, especially this one, now that has become popular. In capacity, we call it if we can add process flexibility. This is another way to handle it. Process flexibility. You may have you heard of it before? We call it capacity flexibility, right? And under that, process flexibility. Flexibility, what is the meaning of it? Flexibility. Go to the flexible gradient. Not rigid. We can easily adjust it. Right. So capacity is flexible. Now, if you move to slide number 25, these are important concepts. I will explain one or two. So there is this concern now in most of the factories, most of the service organizations. They call it capacity flexibility. Flexibility. Ability to change quickly. So we call it flexible. Ability to change quickly and easily. So the capacity can be adjusted easily, quickly in the situation. And that is what we call capacity flexibility. It is very important, very popular in today's organization. So having the ability to rapidly increase or decrease production levels, or shift production capacity quickly from one product to another. That is what we call capacity flexibility. And usually using these techniques, these mechanisms, factories have achieved it. Something called flexible plants that they now talk about. Flexible processes. Flexible plants flexible processes. The simple idea is when the process is designed, when the plant or the factory is designed, they have carefully thought and they have carefully designed it to quickly change from one product to another, change the output from high to middle to low. They have designed processors, factories in that manner, and such we call flexible processors or flexible factories. So that they can quickly adjust to the market requirements. One typical example for this would be Toyota manufacturing, and they call it Toyota manufacturing systems. That is known for flexibility. Toyota manufacturing systems. That is a typical example of flexible manufacturing system. What does that mean? Toyota is known for flexible processors and flexible plants, meaning their processors and factories are designed in such a way they can quickly adjust the production rates to the market requirements. There is a higher demand for certain models, they can expedite the production. When the demand is declining, they can reduce the production rate. Even they can do this, the second one. Assume that they are producing different designs, different models, vehicle design, different models like Toyota Corolla, Toyota Toyota Axio, and then Toyota Vitz, and various other different models. Toyota V8 to various other. The same factory, same model process assembly lines can be used to manufacture different models with slight modifications. We call them flexible processors, flexible plants. Now, I want you all to check with the organizations to what extent they use some of concepts like this. Do they use, or do they have some other ways to manage capacity? Right? Flexible plants, flexible processes. Clear? If you understand the meaning, that is enough. And this is another way to have capacity flexibility. We call it flexible workers. This is in service sector, and then of course factories with the use factory workers. Flexible workers. What could be the meaning? Flexible workers and thereby having capacity flexibility. Flexible workers. They are the workers who can work at different production processes with different machines at request, on demand. Can you understand it? They are capable. They can. They are not doing only one task. They are capable of handling different production steps, different machines, multiple skills, multi-talented, multi-skilled workforce. So, for an example, some factory workers, they are given the training on different machines, different production steps. So when there is a demand for one product, workers will be deployed, workers will be used for that production. And when the demand for that is declining and the demand for some other products increasing, then workers can be rotated to the other processes. Hope you can understand it. It happens in service sector of those who are working in banks. So they will be given the training on different banking operations: front office, lobby area, then count operations, phoning section, clearing section, loans processing. Multi-skilled, flexible workers. So demand they will be used for that. If you look at restaurant chains like Pizza Hut to McDonald's, their work staff, they are trained on all the different aspects. Airline services, their staff is trained on different activities. So the same staff used for different purposes. Capacity, flexibility. Can you understand it? Useful. In the same manner, this is another way to have flexibility in capacities. We call it strategies to use capacities of other organizations, and that is what we identify here as subcontracting, and then of course outsourcing. Subcontracting, one of the common technique to use is just capacity. Have you come across it before? I think yes. Subcontracting. And is that different from outsourcing? Subcontracting, what is that? You know the meaning, right? Basically, when you have limited capacity that you can't manage everything, so you select some part of production, right? And select some outsiders who can handle it and assign that person to that organization to manufacture it. Some quantities or some parts or whatever. Under your brand name, for your orders, you assign outside firms to manufacture it. This is a popular technique in manufacturing. Apparel manufacturing to constructions to various other subcontracting. In the same manner, outsourcing, this is, I mean, subcontracting is on short-term purpose, short-term basis, whereas outsourcing, relatively longer time, more than 1 year or more than that. Right? So on permanent basis, you outsource some of your internal activities to external firms. For what? In this case, to manage the capacity. You have limited capacity, so you are focusing on the core activities. Other activities you outsource. Understand? I hope you will understand this and apply in the organization you are going to study. Especially when you suggest some improvements, right? What they are doing now, how they can improve their capacity, overcome capacity problems. We will relate some of these techniques. Closing facilities, as she asked, I explained earlier. Now that is now when facilities are no longer needed, maybe machines, maybe factories, rather than just maintaining, closing the facilities, close down the factories would be ideal. We recommend. So those are few tactics that we identified. Clear? Any quick questions? Yeah. Of course, you can make a request to Krishna and Srilanka. drop an email asking for a permission request. Mention the organization or the address to be addressed, and then the name of the person if you have for the manager, just the manager title, and then of course the names of the students, who and who will be visiting. So the name is, so make a request similarity. Check with her, drop that email a little early, at least 1 or 2 days prior to the required date, and follow that. These are basically for short-term and medium-term purpose commands. In audit firms, have you identified some more strategies than these that are used in audit firms to manage their capacity requirements? Out of these, what are the common techniques you have seen in audit firms? Hello? The staffing changes are often used, right? Especially hiring more temporary workers, trainees and all, when you need more training staff, more audit staff. And then discontinue them, or you anyway hire more regularly. Hire on contract basis, yes, that's what we see. What else you think that can be used in audit firms? Hello? Okay, flexibility. What are the ways that you can use this flexibility concepts in audit firms? Flexibility. Flexible workers. Workers hired can be trained on different auditing activities, auditing processes, so that depending on the project requirement, they can be used. Very good. So otherwise, you have to depend on 1 or 2 trained workers. I don't know what are the different audit activities, but if you train them on different activities, they can be used. Great. Contract basis, train staff, and then of course flexibility, flexible workers. What else? Outsourcing. Especially medium scale, large scale audit firms, they may outsource some activities, some engagement even, maybe subcontract or outsource. Especially outsourcing for certain activities. So to overcome capacity problems. Good. Any other technique? Physical resources and all, if they needed, like storage facilities, maybe software solutions and computer hardware like PCs, laptops and all. If you run short of such resources, what can be done? Have you come across such incidents? You can invest those resources. Purchasing new laptops, PCs, new storage capacities and all. So investing on new capacities. Isn't so? Purchasing new machinery, PCs, and new operating systems, software solutions. Auditing procedures, can't you simplify auditing procedures to make, to complete them faster? You have standard procedures, right? So you can simplify and expedite auditing processes so that you can quickly complete each step, so that your capacity will be improved by introducing standard practices, so that everyone should follow the same steps and quickly finalize the. I don't know whether that is possible. That is one thing. These are short-term purposes. Now, coming to long-term, there are these few options available. Nothing new. Same old techniques. The first one, what is that? If we need more physical resources like new machinery, new production lines, new factories, we can establish them, making investments. We need to invest resources. When out of these two situations, situation 1 or 2, when we need to invest on more long-term capacity requirements, when the requirements are greater than available capacity on permanent basis, we should be sure of the higher demand. Right? We would require higher volume, and then of course certainty. We should be certain. And then of course our cost of expansions and cost of operation should be considered, right? And then make that investment. When this is needed, on permanent basis you sell off some factories, sell off some production lines or machinery when they are no longer needed. Rather than maintaining them, selling them is more appropriate. Like accountants and finance, you know it better than me. Cash them and then use it for some other purposes. Rather than just maintaining the resources idly. Second one, on long-term purpose, recruit more permanent partners. Permanent workers, permanent staff, and increase the capacity. When we need more capacity, like with firms, not only trainees, but executives are hired, or maybe from trainees you promoted executives and then of course managers. Increase the size. And the layoff, what we call it, reduce the workforce. Downsize permanent workforce will be reduced by introducing techniques like VRSs, voluntary retirement schemes. So to reduce the permanent workforce, thereby reduce the capacity. Now, this old government, now that is almost over, we will be seeing a new government, whatever it is. Now, the old government, when they try to sell state-owned enterprises, one main issue they have is overstaff. So, to reduce the staff, I don't know whether they have really tried to do that. I'm not so sure, but anyway, that is one way to do it. To reduce the overstaff, voluntary retirement schemes are introduced, and then make it to a global level. The recent incident was the global level. This Elon Musk, when he acquired Twitter, reduced the staff level to a very low level, introducing this downsizing, and reduce the working capacities to a very low level. Now, in that, the technology will replace the requirements. Outsourcing is a permanent solution. Now in most of the industries we see processes can be outsourced, requirements, resources can be outsourced, responsibilities can be outsourced on a long-term basis. How about the last two? Mergers and acquisitions. That is to expand capacity. Mergers and acquisitions. Now, compared to investing your own resources, what are the advantages of mergers and acquisitions, as you can see? Mergers, any examples of mergers and acquisitions for capacity expansions? Now, let's say hotel chains, right? Hotel chains, when they need to expand their hotel chains, rather than establishing new hotels and staffing them and everything, it takes longer time. So they acquire some of the existing hotels and expand their operations capacity. So as you can understand, within short time period, you can expand your capacity. The risk is minimum. But then you establish it and you start operating it. Already operating resources are acquired or work together as mergers. Hospitals, KMAS hospitals. In Subproject acquired Asiri, only 1 or 2 hospitals were there, and then they acquired other hospitals, few others, and then expanded the operations capacity. Banks, insurance companies, finance companies do the same. Airline services do the same. So that they can quickly get the access to the capacity. Factories, machines, and trained workforce. But that should be done by carefully analyzing what is these aspects: demand expansion and the cost of expansion and the cost of operation, and then the strategic objectives. They are fit. The last point for today's discussion would be this. I will explain the valuation techniques next week. Now, coming to this one, demand management, that is also a technique. Right. Now, as you see in slide number 22, by managing the demand also, organizations can overcome capacity problems. By managing the demand, like this. What has happened? Now, there was a period where the demand is low. Now, coming here, that is stimulated to match with the market demand. For that, there are different techniques, especially sales and marketing techniques. No? Some sales and marketing tactics are used for that, to stimulate the market demand. Otherwise, capacity is idling. Let's see what are the possible techniques. Right? How about this period? Now, demand is greater than the capacity, so they are unable to supply. So what they have done? They have reduced the demand, disguised the demand to match with the capacity. Again, using sales and marketing tactics. Now let's quickly see what are recommended here. When the demand exceeds capacity, when the demand exceeds what you can deliver, as you can understand, through sales and marketing techniques, business need to curtail the demand, reduce the demand. Have you seen some companies, manufacturing or service, doing this? They have, you see, curtail the demand, and for that, what they do? Sometimes raise prices, increase prices, increase prices, set higher prices. Likewise, when capacity is limited. Now say airline services. Airline services is one industry that they manage demand by changing prices. If you reserve a ticket few weeks ahead, prices are relatively standard rates. But closer to the departure date, prices are extremely high. Change the prices because they can't add more seats to have capacity is limited. So by changing the prices, they manage the demand. Scheduling longer lead times. You negotiate with the customers to take longer time, so that thereby you reduce the demand. Accept order, but cannot deliver now. We take longer time. And even this, what is this? Discouraging marginally profitable businesses. Profit margins are low, you reduce them, you discontinue them. So that you can use those facilities, those workers also for profitable products. However, the long-term solution would be increase capacity and match the market demand. Understanding? The second situation, that is capacity exceed demand, like this. Capacity is greater than the demand. So what you would suggest them to do? Stimulate the market demand, encourage demand. How? Promotions, price discounts, so. Have you seen such efforts from manufacturing organizations and especially in service organizations? Because in services, if they don't utilize their capacity, that is lost forever. Say like transportation, buses or airlines, right? If they can't sell their tickets for one way or one destination, and they sell them early, next time, so they can't. They have to anyway sell. Hotels, if you cannot sell your room or bed tonight, can you sell it tomorrow? So all that is gone. So you should encourage the market. How? By applying price discounts, promotions. Where have you seen that? Which industries you have seen them mostly? Hello? Food, like what? Restaurants, yeah, of course. Right. Restaurants, have you seen? Special promotions are given during, let's say, early days of a week. Because during the weekend and Fridays, right, the demand is high, but they have discounted prices for early days of the week. And there is something called happy hour. Happy hour agriculture. The low demand period, they encourage customers to come and utilize the resources. Happy hour days. So they are observing. Restaurants, supermarkets. So stimulate the demand and even product changes. Right? So if certain products are continuously declining, you better change them to high demanded items. Replace them with high demand items. This is also important, that is adjusting to seasonal demand. Sometimes products may have a higher demand, some other products may have a lower demand. So having a kind of product portfolio that have complementary demand patterns. When one product demand of one product is increasing, other one is declining, and vice versa. So that still you can make sure you can utilize the capacity fully. So like those are different techniques coming under managing demand. Is that clear? What did we understood today? We talked about capacity planning. Since this is important for your assignment, we discuss things in detail. Right? So we identify capacity planning process, steps, capacity related measurements, and finally different capacity alternatives under these three strategies. Clear? Short-term strategies and long-term strategies. I think you will easily now plan your data collection for the assignment and ask 5 questions from your organizations and finalize your report easily. There are a few more days, few more weeks actually, but that is limited. Hope to see you next.